2025 meeting of the Town of Southampton Conservation Board. The board's meetings continue to be hybrid, which means they are both in person at Town Hall and via video conference through Zoom webinar. If you go to the town website and click on the town clerk's agendas and meetings portal, you can watch the live stream video of the meeting, and there is a link to submit written comments for the public record. You can also join the Zoom webinar through the town clerk's portal. If you are attending via Zoom and wish to speak during the meeting, then please alert a moderator by clicking the raise hand icon or type in the chat box. Thank you. I invite all to rise for the salute to the flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
There are no public hearings scheduled for tonight, but we do have some minutes that we have yet to approve. What is your pleasure on the minutes of January 8th, 2025?
Move to accept.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I wasn't here, absent.
I'm abstaining. I was absent.
What is your pleasure on February 12th, 2025?
Move to accept. Second.
All in favor?
I
Abstain, I wasn't here.
And what is your pleasure on February 26th, 2025?
move to accept.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I was not here.
Okay, so we have enough votes for each of those. Advisory reports for the planning board, 1052 Noyak Path.
Good evening, Marty Shea, Chief Environmental Analyst for the town. This is a pending subdivision application for a tract that's located on Noyak Path in the hamlet of Watermill. The application is in the pre-application stage. There are several recommended comments. The first is that, as confirmed by a March 7, 2025 Environment Division field assessment, as well as by the August 7, 2024 slope analysis and 2022 to 2024 town aerial imagery, the track is marked by natural pine oak, forested glacial knoll terrain, which has been significantly impacted by southern pine beetle. Second, the survey needs to be updated to show the full extent of clearing and should highlight those portions of the track where large numbers of former standing dead pines have been cut, with notation that the remaining oaks and ground cover will otherwise be left undisturbed, and that any resultant bare ground will be allowed to naturally succeed and recover. Thirdly, the felled trees have since been bucked, with the logs having been tightly positioned upright along the outer path edges and or placed on the ground linearly and horizontally. These added areas of disturbance should be captured by the survey and the clearing calculations. Fourth, any remaining standing dead pines which don't pose immediate safety concerns or risk of property damage should be left intact for native insects and tree cavity dwelling wildlife. And lastly, any further development of parcels 1 and 2 need to avoid horizontal areas of slope which exceed a grade of 20% as depicted on the subdivision map, as well as be designed and positioned to respect the remaining natural terrain as much as is practicable.
Motion to send those comments to the planning board.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Kings Lane Estates.
This is a subdivision in the pre-application stage for a forested, undeveloped tract on Kings Lane in the hamlet of North Sea. There are several recommended comments. The first indicates that the Conservation Board supports the Kings Lane Estates Land Division Cluster Map, drawing number C-101 as prepared by North Star Engineering, dated February 2nd, 2025, as based upon a March 10, 2025 Environment Division Field Assessment. The tract successional woodland habitat is beneficial for white-tailed deer, wild turkeys, songbirds, and other wildlife. Second, the track also provides a scenic backdrop for surrounding residential homes and aids greatly in air and water purification as well as in carbon sequestration. Third, its function as water catchment area is important as the southerly part of the track is located up gradient of the Suffolk County Water Authority well site on North Main Street within an area where the majority of watershed land has been put to agricultural or residential use. Additionally, most of the proximate homes are serviced by private wells rather than by public water. And lastly, for that reason, notwithstanding the property's location outside of the Aquifer Protection Overlay District, clearance and site disturbance limitations consistent with the threshold set forth in Section 330-67 should be applied.
Motion to send those comments to the planning board.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? For the ZBA, Lucy Jensen.
This is a variance application for a developed property at Oaks Lane in the hamlet of Flanders. The comments provide some history and recommendations. The first indicates that the survey is prepared by Nathan Taft Corwin III, dated November 18, 2015, with a latest revision date of January 27, 2025, which was filed with the pending variance application, is consistent with the survey with a latest revision date of April 4, 2024, which was approved by the Conservation Board by resolution of modified conditional approval on May 8, 2024. Second, notwithstanding that the existing frame shed is located at a non-compliant 6-foot rear yard setback where a minimum of 8 feet is required, there is a pre-existing certificate of occupancy for such structure. Moreover, it is somewhat unclear as to when this structure was installed. As such, the Conservation Board did not require that such structure be legalized or otherwise addressed as part of the wetland permit application. Thirdly, in the event that the proposed secondary shed is repositioned or reduced in size, a second modified conditional wetland permit approval would need to be sought. And lastly, it is unlikely that a new shed could be wetland permitted on the east side of the existing deck and frame shed, as considerable relief from the minimum required wetland building setback of 100 feet would be required.
Motion to send those comments to the ZBA.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Linda Perillo.
Did you skip one? Did you skip Hobby Stones? Or
Hobby Stone comes next on the agenda, but
actually,
We don't have the Perillo Hobby Stones.
We don't have a.
We don't have a,
Yeah, Perello's not
something
in
like
here.
this. Let me see.
Linda
I mean, I
Perullo.
had completed Perello. Is it there?
Not in here.
It's not in the packet, but it's on the agenda.
Just put it on the screen is good enough. We can read it.
All right, this is a pending variance application for property on Cove Road North in the hamlet of North Sea. The applicant is seeking dimensional setback relief and potential pyramid law relief for a shed. The comments are indicating that the shed, while larger than the initial shed, is consistent with the intent of the Conservation Board approval. The comments also indicate that the wetland impacts of the project have been mitigated by establishment of an expansive naturally vegetated wetland, non-disturbance, non-fertilization buffer landward of wetlands. That being said, there are no significant environmental concerns regarding this application.
Motion to send those comments to the ZBA.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Hobby Stones LLC.
This variance application relates to a developed property with frontage on the Shinnecock Bay on Main Avenue in Hampton Bays. The comments are as follows. First, indicates that the survey, which was filed with the pending variance application, is generally consistent with the survey, which was stamped approved by the Environment Division on August 5, 2024, pursuant to Administrative Wetland Permit number WAP 24005. Such permit was issued on January 29, 2024. The second comment offers that as the landowner has established an expansive covenanted wetland preservation area, naturally vegetated wetland, non-disturbance, non-fertilization buffer, landward of wetlands, in order to mitigate wetland impacts, there are no significant environmental concerns regarding the area variance which is being sought.
Motion to send those comments to the ZBA.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Nicholas Lawrence and Raya Backer.
This application relates to a residentially developed property on Ring Neck Road in the hamlet of Remsenburg, Speonk, that recently received Conservation Board approval. So the first comment offers that, as indicated by the applicant, the survey is prepared by David H. Fox with the latest revision date of September 6, 2024, which was filed with the pending variance application, has already been approved by the Conservation Board pursuant to Wetland Permit number CB 24061, which was issued on October 29, 2024. Second comment indicates that a covenanted wetland preservation area and restored naturally vegetated wetland buffer is being established in order to offset the impacts of this project. As such, there are no significant environmental concerns with regards to the subject application and the area of variance which is being sought.
Motion to send those comments to the ZBA.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 658 Flying Point LLC.
This variance application relates to a residentially developed property on Flying Point Road in the hamlet of North Watermill, which has frontage on Burnett's Creek. The property is being redeveloped and needs an area variance. So the first comment indicates that the survey is prepared by Lester Holden with a latest revision date of November 20, 2024, which was filed with the pending variance application, is consistent with the survey which was approved by the Conservation Board on August 5, 2024, pursuant to wetland permit number CB 24033, and that permit was issued on May 28, 2024. The second comment offers that as the landowner has established an expansive covenanted wetland preservation area, naturally vegetated wetland, non-disturbance, non-fertilization buffer land with wetlands in order to mitigate wetland impacts. There are no significant environmental concerns regarding the area variance which is being sought.
Motion to send those comments to the ZBA.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Jennifer Weintraub and others.
This application relates to a residentially developed property at Edgemere Drive in North Sea. Property has bulkheaded frontage on the Little Peconic Bay, but also has interior freshwater wetlands. The first comment indicates that the planned construction activities for which a pyramid variance is being sought are located greater than 50 feet landward of the surface waters of the Little Peconic Bay, where at least 100 linear feet of functional bulkhead exists. They are also positioned greater than 200 feet landward of the interior freshwater wetlands. As such, a town wetland permit is not required for the proposed residential expansion. And the second comment offers that the required sanitary upgrade, inclusive of installation of an IAOWTS, has already been completed pursuant to Administrative Wetland Permit number WAP 22094, which was issued on May 12, 2023. That being said, a certificate of wetland compliance application needs to be filed in order to close out the wetland permit prior to its September 6, 2025 expiration date.
Motion to send those comments to the ZBA.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Richard and Veronica Palisi.
This pending variance application before the Zoning Board of Appeals relates to a waterfront property that's being redeveloped on Oakhurst Road in Hampton Bays. The first comment indicates that the survey is prepared by Robert A. Smith with a latest revision date of October 2nd, 2024, which was filed with the pending variance application, is consistent with the survey which has already been approved pursuant to Administrative Wetland Permit WAP 24023, and that permit was issued on May 1, 2024, except that the requisite wetland buffer needs to be identified as a 25-foot naturally vegetated wetland, non-disturbance, non-fertilization buffer rather than as a 25-foot wide non-disturbance, non-fertilization buffer. Second, in light of these proposed wetland, in light of the proposed wetland impact mitigated measures, there are no significant environmental concerns regarding the area variance which is being sought.
Motion to send those comments to the ZBA.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? The administrative wetland permits are in your packets. Resolution of conditional approval, A 024047. Any discussion? Jason Lash and Robin Siegel. Any discussion?
Move to issue.
Second.
Resolved that a conditional wetland permit approval granted to Jason Lash and Robin Siegel for the proposed project upon the terms and conditions set forth therein. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? A 024063. Stephen Ubertini and Valerie Ubertini. Any discussion?
Move to issue.
Second.
Resolved that a conditional wetland permit approval granted to Stephen Ubertini and Valerie Ubertini for the proposed project upon the terms and conditions set forth therein. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? A 024069, 151/152 CSP LLC. Any discussion?
Move to issue. Second.
Resolved that a conditional wetland permit approval be granted to 151/152 CSP LLC for the proposed project by the terms and conditions set forth herein. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Advisory reports for the ZBA, which we should have done first.
No, actually, we needed to do this second.
Okay. 151/152 CSP LLC.
So this pending variance application relates to the same property, which just received the conditional approval. So the comments indicate that the survey that was filed with the pending variance application has been deemed to be compliant with the wetland permit issuance standards set forth in section 325-9, and thus was conditionally approved by the Conservation Board on March 12, 2025. Second comment indicates that an expansive covenanted wetland preservation area, naturally vegetated wetland, non-disturbance, non-fertilization buffer is being required to offset the impacts of this project. As such, there are no significant environmental concerns with regards to the subject application.
Motion to send those comments to the ZBA.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Preliminary review, secret determination, A 023059, 31 Jagger Holdings LLC and Jagger Investors LLC. Is this,
This,
This is
as
actually-
shown on the screen, this application relates to two abutting properties. One contains a tennis court and one contains a single-family residence. There is a preliminary advisory report on file dated March 6, 2025. The application was filed in response to a notice of violation that the landowner received as the tennis court construction and associated clearing had been completed without the requisite wetland and building permits. It was also brought to the landowner's attention, and modifications had been made to the accessory improvements associated with the northerly residence that needed to be legalized, otherwise addressed by filing of the Conservation Board wetland application. So these are properties that are marked by a very extensive conservation easement, which was a requirement of the filed subdivision map for the estate of Helen Jagger. Both properties also have a history of town wetland approvals, in that in the case of the northerly lot, a Conservation Board wetland permit had been issued, which was conditioned upon establishment of supplemental naturally vegetated wetland non-disturbance, non-fertilization buffers extending landward of the existing easement. The lot with the tennis court had received an administrative wetland permit to build a single family residence that was also conditioned upon establishment of a compliant a 100-foot buffer by recording of a covenant. So both these lots are presently encumbered by covenants, and there have been significant encroachments within those restricted areas associated with primarily with clearing and unauthorized deer fence lines. Also, while the tennis court was built at a compliant wetland construction setback, the hardscape at the northerly lot was built at less than the required setback. So the applicant has come forward with a mitigation plan in order to rectify these matters. There are draft drawings which are part of the application records. And what the applicant is seeking to do is to restore the northerly encroached upon buffer in large part by eliminating the deer fence and taking up a large portion of the existing lawn and restoring that area to native vegetation. However, in the case of the residentially developed lot, the landowner is looking to keep some lawn area in the rear yard. So what the mitigation plans for is also to not only restore the encroached upon portions of the existing covenant, the buffer on the southerly lot where the tennis court was built, again by taking up unauthorized deer fence lines as well as lawn and ornamental vegetation and restoring the affected areas to native vegetation. But what the landowner is looking to do is to establish a restored buffer on the southerly lot, which is significantly larger than what is required by code. That additional area coverage would offset the partial buffer relief that the applicant is seeking in the rear yard of the northerly residence. As this is forested habitat, the applicant has agreed to come forward with a reforestation plan. And just to give you some additional specificity on this, the applicant is seeking relief for 1,864 square feet of buffer that would be on that northerly lot, and that would be offset by providing for an additional 2,946 square feet of restored buffers, mostly on the tennis court. So that proposal is in keeping with our goal of requiring a large area of restoration than the area that has been impacted. There is also a fairly extensive area of invasive silvergrass or miscanthus within the existing buffer and conservation easement on the southerly lot. This Canthus invasion is likely the result of unauthorized discard of landscape debris, namely ornamental grass cuttings, in that easement area. The applicant has agreed to remove all the invasive vegetation and do the appropriate native revegetation. I should also note that within the bounds of the conservation easement, the applicant had installed a vinyl shed close to the dock, the trustees permitted dock, as the easement doesn't allow for the building of structures. That vinyl shed will be removed. So while we could seek to, as an alternative, we could seek to require that the northerly residents remove extensive hardscape and take up all their lawn within the existing covenanted buffer bounds. I think this plan makes a lot more sense and does offer, as indicated, significantly larger area of restoration to make up for the relief that the applicant is seeking from the buffer. Again, a significant part of the northerly buffer would yet be restored, but they want the opportunity to leave some lawn space behind the residence. So I think it's an appropriate and sensible way of rectifying the outstanding matters at these lots. So this is an application for which we have sufficient information to make a determination. As such, recommending that the public hearing requirement be waived.
Motion to waive this public hearing?
Second.
Resolved that the Town Conservation Board hereby waives the public hearing requirement pursuant to Chapter 325, Section 325-80 of the Town Code. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? A 025002, Jeffrey S. Delandro and Helen Delandro.
So as shown on the screen, this application relates to a fairly large property on the north side of West End Avenue in the hamlet of East Quogue. Property is marked by a small residence, which you're seeing in the northwest portion of the property. There is a trailer or camper. That's the white structure that you're seeing. But if you look along the water's edge, there's a fairly large masonry and frame barn, which is about 100 years old. What the applicant is seeking to do is to demolish the existing residence and build a much larger new residence with a swimming pool and many other accessory improvements. They have proposed a non-compliant buffer that would take in some land on both the north side and south side of the barn, but they're looking to retain the barn. I had requested an engineer's report to look at the structural integrity of the barn. And I also included photos as part of the record. And you'll see that the roof structure is failing. The exterior walls are failing. There's a large gap in the wall of the structure on the seaward side. So my advisory report, which is dated March 5, 2025, questions the landowner's intent with regards to their desire to retain the bond. Retaining this bond, which is in a deteriorated state, would essentially block the view of the water for the new residents. What I have offered is that if the applicant wants to retain that bond, in order for us to issue a permit for this project, the applicant would need to provide for an average overall buffer width of 75 feet. I forwarded a sketch to the applicant which would call for a significant extension of the proposed buffers on the south end and north end of that bond in order to comply with that permit issuance standards. I've also indicated that that in the event that the permit needs to be conditioned, that in the event that the bond is to be demolished and removed in the future, at that time, the covenant which would need to be recorded to establish the buffer should be amended so that the buffer can be reconfigured to provide for a parallel 75-foot buffer along the shoreline. My concern is that in the event that we simply require a perpetual average overall buffer width of 75 feet, consistent with my drawing, that after this permit is issued, the applicant will simply file for a demolition permit to remove that structure in order to have open lawn area going down in the center of the property down to the creek's edge, as typically demolition permits are not conditioned upon buffer establishment. The advisory report was forwarded to the applicant about a week ago, and the applicant has not requested a hearing, nor have they indicated that they are not amenable to these mitigation recommendations. So that being said, there is sufficient information to make a determination on this application, and we can waive the public hearing requirement.
Just in case they come back tomorrow, for example, and say, no, I don't like your buffer, but we have another plan, what's the process for
They would have to, well, if they come back tomorrow, I can put it on for the next meeting. And then we'll decide whether or not it's appropriate at that time to schedule a hearing. And if so, I can put on a resolution to schedule a hearing.
Okay.
So,
All right, so let's waive the hearing now.
because we're not acting on a conditional approval tonight. And even if we act on a conditional approval, and then the applicant wants to go with a different approach here, they can file for a modified conditional approval. So the process provides the needed flexibility that although the hearing is being waived tonight, there is still the opportunity to request hearing at a later date or to amend the current plan.
Okay, so we can waive this. This will be the quickest for the applicant if the applicant agrees with the proposed mitigation.
Motion to waive the public hearing.
Second.
Resolved that the Town Conservation Board hereby waives the public hearing requirement pursuant to Chapter 325, Section 325-8 of the Town Code. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Wetland permit modification, J&V Noble Homes LLC and JS Build Group LLC.
This is a rather simple wetland permit modification application for a property that is being redeveloped at 161 South Road in the hamlet of West Hampton. Initially, the applicant had applied for and received Conservation Board approval to retain the entirety of the existing dwelling, but to construct additions, to install a pool, and also convert a detached garage to partial pool cabana, leaving the remnant as a garage. That approval was conditioned upon establishment of a compliant covenanted wetland preservation area, and nearly compliant restored naturally vegetated buffer. The applicant had come back twice before for approval of modifications to the original plan. The second modification was required because the applicant had commenced demolition of the majority of the structure, counter to the prior approvals that the board had granted. That needed permit modification, was approved by the board. Part of the plan called for installation of a bathroom in the converted detached garage, which is seen to the south of the residence. And that was going to be serviced by a septic line that would be routed to the IAOWTS, serving the new main residence. While the Suffolk County Department of Health Services said they would not approve the servicing of the cabana by connection to the IA for the main residence. So they have required a separate secondary small septic system on the landward side of the detached garage that is at compliant setbacks. So the applicant is seeking a modified permit at this time simply to install a secondary smaller septic system to service a small cabana on the landward side of the cabana. Nothing else has changed with regards to the applicant's agreement to go forward with a pretty expansive restoration plan within the buffer and wetland. So the modified permit, which is being sought, will actually be beneficial in terms of protecting water quality, and is unlikely to result in significant adverse wetland impacts. As such, there is a resolution before you to approve the requested permit modifications.
Motion to issue modification.
Second.
Resolved that a wetlands permit modification be issued to J&V Noble Homes LLC and JS Build Group LLC for the proposed project upon the terms and conditions set forth therein. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you all.